Welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the DeLorean from Gambody. But before we get started, roll those credits and a word from our sponsor.
PCBWay are proud sponsors of the channel. They offer industry-leading 3D printing services covering all types of materials and processes. They also offer industry-leading online CNC machine services from milling, machining, and turning in all the materials you could possibly need. They also offer a fully online prototyping PCB service. Everything from assembly through to design, you can do it all online with an easy system to use for quality. So for all of your needs, check out PCBWay in the link in the video description.
Okay, so this nearly broke me emotionally because it's huge. This is the DeLorean from Back to the Future. It is a kit on Gambody, a great page for really detailed models. The person who designed this hates people and is super vindictive. That's a fun little fact about them. It's roughly 1 to 38 scale, I think. So it is 940 millimeters long. It's 450 millimeters wide, and it stands at around 370 mil tall. It's 175% bigger than the files that Gambody initially provide, and that creates a lot of problems. We'll do some close-ups of the car in a minute. I do want to talk through some of the things. So this is what they call an active model, in the sense that things like the bonnet open up. You can also take the car doors off, which we'll do when we move stuff around. This back piece, this is supposed to be Mr. Fusion in the later Back to the Futures, and you can see the engine and everything, or bits of the engine anyway, underneath. This is all three kits combined with some caveats. So there's three kits you can buy. One is the sort of relatively standard DeLorean with a bunch of the rear parts on there as well. There's then the second kit, which gives you engine details, the engine that goes underneath, and a few more, and the interior details. And then there's kit 3, which gives you different wheels. You can put it on a stand, and there's a few other bits and pieces with it as well. I didn't find the third kit particularly useful. It does come with a few extra bits and pieces. There's nice details in this, like if you take off the bonnet, you can remove the carpet, and there's like a spare wheel inside. So there's nice details like that go inside of it. I do really like the level of detail. I will say that I think he probably went overboard with a lot of it. There's a relatively large engine that goes in the back. That goes underneath the car. There's like part of a drivetrain in there as well. You can't see it from underneath the car. And the only way you can see any of it is if you take Mr. Fusion off, then you can see that there's the back of the engine. That's really all you can see of what is really quite a large engine block. We'll show you around the car in a second. I am really happy with how this turned out, but let me be clear, this model was really difficult for a lot of reasons. So it's always difficult doing something that's meant to have a sheet metal finish or a car paint level of paint finish. There is no sort of shading and highlighting and low lighting that means you can hide layer lines or not, where you've not spent hours and hours sanding the thing. And then there's windows. So we need to find a better way of doing windows. We have tried lots of different resins, and these windows are passable. You can see through them. They are good enough for this model, for my level of I'm happy with this model. But I want to be clear, they aren't perfect by any stretch. There's two relatively pronounced layer shift lines in the windshield. They are because when you are printing the windshield, you don't want support scarring on it. So you have to support it via its edge. And when you support it via its edge, it's quite a lot of weight on a screen, on a windscreen or a piece of print this size that's quite thin. And as a result, during printing, it's had a couple of minor layer shifts because it wasn't supported properly. But there's a limitation as to how much you can support it. So it's a real sort of, you just create more work for yourself in sanding and trying to get it perfectly smooth. Forming these to the right shape can be really difficult. They're only about 1.5 millimeters thick. Probably not, I don't even think they're that. I think they're 1.2 millimeters thick. So what you can do is you can run them under hot water and they do become relatively pliable. So you can put them in place and then you run cold water over them and they sort of form to the new, sort of sets in the new shape. I'm happy enough with how this looks, but they're not perfect. There are some layer lines. I have sanded them a bit. I've taken them all the way up to about 1500 grit sandpaper, and they're passable. People will know they're windows. People will know that they're for a car. People will know they're 3D printed. But where I want to get to is where they're just better. I just want them to look better. I think we're going to have to start looking into printing them in FDM, using those as templates, and then buying sort of 0.5 millimeter thick perspex, forming it over the top, and then cutting them out. And I think that's more than likely going to have to be the way we do it. I didn't do it on this one because on all these windows they actually have detail. So there is a line that goes through the side windows that is meant to be there, and as well there's like a little hole on the windshield where the rear view mirror is supposed to hang off of. So so those together, I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to print these, and it is what it is. This car is lit. You will see that from the pictures in a minute, or the pictures you've seen as we're going round. There is LE wire that goes around the top here, LE wire that goes around the front. The front headlights light up, and the rear headlights light up. They are powered by 2 battery packs that I have slung underneath the car just here. The reason I had to do 2 battery packs was because you can run multiple LE wires off of one of these battery packs, but if you try to run LE wire and LED diodes, the lights out the front, for some reason the LEDs will work, but they seem to short out the LE wire. I don't know why. It might just be how the LE wire works. I'm not very good at electronics. This is literally a case of gluing stuff together. You'll probably notice from some of the cables, those of you who are avid 3D printers, you will notice that these cables might look a little bit familiar to you. And that's because they're a thermistor, a heat cartridge, and a BL Touch extension cable. Because they're the cables that I had lying around, so they're what got glued to the model. So let's give you some look around the car so that you can really sort of get a look at how it all works. We'll take the doors off and everything for you as well. So the DeLorean was all printed in JamgHe Resin and filament. This is a sponsor of the channel now, so produces really nice consistent results and almost no warpage on the art engineering side as well. Some of the tiny parts just required that extra level of detail, and the art engineering resin was absolutely perfect for that. And we were doing prints on multiple FDM machines, which meant we needed really consistent filament. So these are now a sponsor of the channel. Check out a link in the video description to go and check it out for yourself. That's not an affiliate link, so we don't get paid, but full disclosure, they are sending us materials. So thanks very much, JamgHe, for sending us that. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so I'm going to start rating models in difficulty for print and difficulty for paint, because people need to start to understand sort of how much of a pain some of these things are. So on a scale of 1 to 10, print-wise, I'd put this around an 8. This would be around a 4 or 5 if you were printing it the original size. But when you blow stuff up, you comes with it engineering challenges. Joints that were strong enough when the car was almost half the weight and almost half the size, now aren't strong enough once they're scaled up. So, for example, the wheels are supposed to turn backwards and forwards because they've got active suspension. You can't print the active suspension when it's this big because it just cracks. It's not strong enough in resin or in FDM. It just cracks. So, so you do have to sort of play a little bit with the engineering of this, which I'm not a massive fan of. Paint-wise, look, if you get a really good print job, I would say the paint job on this is probably around a 6 or a 7. There are little details that you pick out, but you can pick them out to your heart's content and really how much you want to be screen accurate. Everything that's on the inside of this does print separately, so it's not appalling to try and get all that detail in there. You can see from the close-ups that we did, the flux capacitors in there and all that sort of stuff. The wiring was actually really easy. Everything's slung under the car anyway. There aren't really wiring channels. I thought there were, but there aren't. So luckily this is a car that it doesn't matter if you can see the wires, because you just assume it's part of the car. So, so I put the battery packs under here. I'm not really clear on where they think they're supposed to go normally. I don't know if they think you're supposed to sort of stick them inside the car or they're meant to go under the bonnet or whatever. I wanted mine hidden, so I put them underneath the car there, and they work perfectly fine. They stand out nicely. I think the car looks really cool. The overall finish, I am really happy with. I haven't done a car like this before. I haven't really done a lot of vehicles. Mike's been the one who's been doing a lot of those, like the War Rig and things like that. And I really like it. I want to be clear, this hasn't been painted screen accurate, and that will more than likely upset a number of people. Mr. Fusion is supposed to be white, but I hate painting white, so I didn't do that. And the same with the flux capacitor around the bits and pieces as well. There's things on the inside that aren't painted the same as the reference images you can find online. And the main reason for that is just because I got to a point where I was really starting to fall out of love with doing this. So so I just started to try and smash through it, which I've done, and I'm very happy with how it looks. I'm happy with the finish. I hope you guys are as well. We did say that we were kind of done with big models on the channel and we were going to start doing smaller stuff. And that was just a lie. We lied to you. That's not true. We're not doing that. And it seems like these are the things we're still doing. So I still really enjoyed doing it for the most part. But it's one of those projects that really fatigued me as I was going through, trying to make sure everything matches and trying to keep everything clean, trying to make it look like a car paint job was really quite hard. So so I'm happy with it. It's done. I hope you guys like it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next channel. We'll catch you on the next video.